Welcome to the Kid and Drag Gaming Podcast. This is Kid.
And this is Drag. Remember, if you're enjoying the content, go check us out on our socials. Follow us so we post our latest updates. On Instagram, you can look for us at Kid in Drag. On Facebook, same thing, Kid in Drag. If you're follow us on Twitter, go for Drag Kid In. Also, check out our website at kidindrag.chat. You can find all of our latest episodes. All of our stuff is out there. You can contact us. We can get direct feedback from you and help you get the content you want to hear. Now, let's talk about all the stuff you want to talk about. All right, and today we're going to keep adding on to the story with Borderlands. Brought in a new pro into the Borderlands world. We've got Layden Sky joining as a very special guest today. So welcome, Layden. I appreciate you joining us again.
No problem. Thanks for asking me.
Absolutely. 100% enjoy the chat every time, and I think you've got the most grindage in this game so far. And as always, we've got Kid Rolla here, ready to rock it out for us today.
Oh yeah, let's do it, baby.
All right. So we talked a little bit about some of the first initial gameplay thoughts that we had as a team, the three of us ground out probably level 20, 25, somewhere in that neighborhood in the first few days. So we've got some joint experiences. As I said, Layden has continued to grind it out, got one level 50 character, and gone through a couple rounds of the game on the main story. So we'll get some opinions there, but we'll continue on maybe a little bit more in depth on what we really enjoyed, where we see some opportunity, that type of thing. So just to kick that off, Layden, like your first impressions. I know we talked early on and you had some challenges like, well, I don't like this, or, there were a couple tweaks there, and, the wonderful noise of the game itself, where it does get a little overwhelming at times with the number of guns and just the massive chaos that's going on the screen. I know those are going to be some challenges, but it is a little bit Borderlands plus some, right? But so in your first couple weeks, you've got some serious playtime in, streamed quite a bit of it. What's your overall feelings being a newfound Borderlands grinder?
I mean, it's definitely a lot of fun. I mean, getting the guns and all the work that went into naming the guns and the, I guess, puns and Easter egg names and or inside jokes are all perfect. And all that, it's definitely keeping my interest, and it's a lot of fun to play on stream. And I like the fact that they took the extra step to actually make it fun to stream for people to watch it. Well, sort of. I think they finally toned down the extensions. What do you call it? Spam all over the stream.
Right. So I think, as a rule, you've got a game launching, and it's something to be noted, especially with three people who stream. They're all affiliated with Twitch here with you. When you're launching a game, even something with as much renown and hype as Borderlands 3, it is still showing how important it is to integrate your viewer base in with just the everyday player, everyday streamer. The big streamers, it doesn't matter. You could see that they put a lot of effort into that, whether it, flawlessly was executed or had some opportunity. You can definitely see there was a lot of effort put in there. It's a really great point to note, because that launched, what, week and a half, 2 weeks before the game came out. You could start installing the extensions to tie that into your stream. I think that's pretty well thought out. Pretty cool that is being paid.
Oh yeah.
So
definitely.
Whenever I remember early on, they talked about if you watched your favorite streamers, you could get some of their guns. Have y'all experienced any of that? Like, where do you get the guns if you're watching a streamer?
So the way that works is that you have to be one. They actually have to have the extension on or working properly, because not only do you have to have it actually set up on your stream, but you have to go into the game and actually activate it. And two, you got to be paying attention to when the rare chest events happen, and that's where you get a chance to get you say that you want to participate in the event, and then if you win, only one person gets to win apparently,
Mhm.
and you get to choose out of some of the guns that show up in that event or
Mhm.
that chest, and it's
Mhm.
red chests, certain chests at inside of vaults, and I think that's it.
Mhm.
I think the main one's the red chest and the vault chest.
So with all the hours you've got playing in this, do you have like one certain gun that you still stick it out with at 50, or are you constantly rotating through all the guns?
So I don't like wasting my time, so I looked up stuff and seeing like best builds and guns to get, and I've won after those guns, and I've gotten a couple of them, and then there's been some surprises where I was just like, well, I'm gonna try the gun. I got it. I don't know how it's, just the random guns that you get. I got it. I might as well try it and be blown away with what the gun actually does. Because you can sit there and look at the stats and try to min max shit, but you really need to try every gun that you get
Have you
because
have you
it.
go ahead.
Because especially if it's a legendary, you definitely want to try every gun unless you've tried it before, to understand what that red text actually does, because they don't tell you what it does. Like it could, some stupid little tagline, like um, for the I got a artifact. I think it was an artifact that is the pullout method, and at the red text on it was it's not, it doesn't work how you think it does. Or no, it was it was an artifact. And so uh I think what it did, I don't know, I think it pulled everybody closer to you,
Mhm.
or maybe it was a grenade, I can't remember now. I'll have to
Mhm.
load up the game, but I posted on Twitter, uh admiring how much work they put into some of these fucking games, or
Mhm.
these items you can get.
Mhm.
But yeah, so you really have no idea what the gun's capable of just by reading the stats on it, is
Mhm.
what I'm getting at.
Mhm.
And
So in that light, that's definitely in Borderlands fashion to me, right? I mean, going through 1 and 2, it was a whole lot of play around with it and experience it, and then you have different play styles, right? I mean, if you're not just the character base, but your own personal play style, right? You're going to be a melee character, or you like to run around the outside, or you like to whatever. That's going to affect the gun. So us three playing different styles, and we played all different characters. We could all pick up the same gun. One of us think it's great. The other one, two, think it's total crap because it doesn't work your play style. Um, and I think the complexity there is pretty cool. Like it is to the point that I think you could go in with totally different mentalities on the characters, the guns you like, the all the artifacts, and you get different combinations. And there's so many different ones that you could totally both be very successful and not have your characters look anything like each other. Because I think, Layden, you made this point that really stood out to me was, you go level up your character or your class or whatnot, but then you can get one gun and it just undoes the need for all that or accentuates it, or it's so effective that it minimizes the effect of the leveling of that character and its specialties and that type of thing. Right.
yeah, so case in point, and it's all over websites that, looking for the best guns. And this sniper rifle that isn't actually a sniper rifle, it's a Gatling gun. And I think you saw, I was using it when we played the last time, kid.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what you play, this gun will decimate everything. And the thing about it is that if you read the stats, yeah, it has a high damage rate,
Mhm.
but it's a sniper rifle, but it's also a Gatling gun. It fires extremely quick. Uh, it has an optimal range because when you fire it, the bullets start separating and the range, or the width of the spray gets wider.
Mhm.
It hits harder because it multiplies as it gets to the target.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
it doesn't say any of that
yeah, that gun was doing
because
some serious work, man. Like I unloaded a whole magazine, and it took like 20, 30% off of monster's life, and you come over here and just annihilated it in a second. So that gun is crazy.
Right. So Grave Ward, I've been farming that now, and with Mayhem 3, it rotates the modifiers each time you restart the game. And so I did this last earlier today. I did one where I had no modifiers to my actual weapon or any of my stuff. It was just all things for the enemy. So I had no special boosts or anything on it. And I still beat Grave Ward in less than 10 seconds after he does all his stupid beginning animation.
That's great.
And so now if you have a boost to elemental damage with this weapon, I mean, it just accelerates it even faster. So it's really not like, this is a gun that's kind of like an equalizer to all, regardless of the spec that you're playing. So it only has benefits. So whatever you choose on your spec, it'll probably benefit that gun instead of hinder it in any way. So there are guns like that exist. But yeah, I mean, depending on which guns you choose, you could literally play any class any which way you want to play it.
Yeah,
I don't melee at all with Amaro.
Yeah, I was on YouTube and I seen a Doom gun. It's a double barrel gun that shoots a pentagram. Have you found that one yet?
I have. Yeah, it's crazy. If you would actually have to see it against the wall to really see the pentagram. Or if you're looking at it just right, because as we've said, when shit starts going, I mean, there's no seeing anything sometimes, where it's just explosions everywhere. So yeah, there's little, I mean, that's what I mean, like, so detailed in some of the things that these guns do, like the way the gun, like the pattern is on the gun where it's a pentagram. I mean, if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't notice that, but it's still there. It's still like an Easter egg or a specialty perk to that gun to give it more character. Like the guns are the characters, like the kind of the main character in the game.
Right. And I think that's not probably far off of what the intent was whenever you're putting something out with a billion of anything. That's a lot, right? There's a lot of effort. I think about the coding and engineering to go into that. Just, I don't care if there's very slight differences in that. You got to put that into perspective when you look at the sheer volume of what that can, just the sheer volume of counting a billion of anything, that's ridiculous, right? It kind of has to be the centerpiece of the game when you're putting that much effort, because you got to think, regardless of the specialties, how many different classes can you do, and how many different ways, even though that's touted as one of their big strong points, is that you've got your 4 primary classes with 3 divisions each, and you can ultimately have 12 different classes, and you start multiplying that next to the amount of gun variations you have. The guns are the star of the game. I don't disagree with that at all.
And to kind of go on that, it's as far as the billions of guns in the game. If you really think about how it's done, I mean, the guns are procedurally generated. They have to be. I mean, with the amount of guns there are, they have to be procedurally generated. Now, there's templates for all of them. And the sheer amount of templates that they probably had to make is still ridiculous when you think about it. But even then, I mean, plus this is the fourth game, right, in the series, because there was Borderlands 1, 2, and then the prequel.
And without going into the handsome Jack wonderfulness. Yeah.
Then so they've had a long time to perfect the way these guns are made. And if you actually, which isn't really shown off too much, is the inspecting the guns themselves, and then they actually break down on the gun what everything does, and you can see how it was pieced together too. In the gun info screen or whatever. So you can see how they build each gun. So yeah, that's awesome. And the guns are basically the whole purpose of the game. I mean, even your abilities, like especially how you can swap them out and change. You can, like, I can go from a caster from far back to a brawler right up in your face, just with a couple switches of my specialty skill,
Right.
and I don't even have to actually respec really for anything
Mhm.
to do it.
So a couple things. I would agree, and about the guns. You got to look at the whole premise of the game. The game is not it is an RPG to a degree, but it is classically defined as the original shooter looter, right? I mean that's where they um, founded their game style on all everything involved in Borderlands. That's the first thing you hear is the shooter looter. And just a little segue: has anybody picked up the Schluter yet? Has anybody found this guy?
I haven't,
I
but
don't.
I think they said you got to beat the game, or I think it was unknown at the time when I was watching
Are you
videos
talking about
on
the
it.
gun that shoots guns?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I have 2 of them.
yeah.
Uh,
So that
so
was
yeah, it's not actually a gun.
Mhm.
It stays in your bag.
Mhm.
You can mount it on your wall if you have space. It goes into the heavy
Mhm.
slot, and you can delete it. So be careful
Mhm.
if you do that. Guy I played with did, and luckily, I mean, all you got to do is just find somebody to beat the game with again, and you have it
Right,
again.
right.
But yeah, you can't put it in your bank at all.
Mhm.
So,
Okay,
So
that's
have you pulled any good guns out of it?
I've haven't really used it yet. I need to. I mean, so, this is a whole nother topic we can get into with the game is inventory space. I'm just scared to fucking hit it. Like
Mhm.
Do
I have no
it.
room for anything.
You gotta do
Mhm.
it, man.
You got to shoot them all out of there. That's one pain you got to get over pretty quick with Borderlands is you got a billion guns. You don't get a billion inventory spaces. It is made change that shit out and try different stuff. You know, it's painful, even when you're advancing a level, because I have caught myself how many times at level 16 and I got this level 12 gun that's really, really cool and I keep trying to use it. And ultimately, you know, you got to get over yourself and trash it.
Oh yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
not going to get the full experience until you do, right?
Eventually, yeah, you're going to come across a combination of factors where the game is going to make you change your weapon.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no way around it.
Yeah, there's too
And when the
too
game,
many combinations.
and when the game says that gun's no longer going to work, you're fucked. You're
Yeah,
not going to do any damage to them,
yeah,
nothing, and you're going to
yeah,
get destroyed real
yeah.
quick.
All right, so um, around this, I would call Layden a pretty prolific gamer, and Kid myself. You know, we dawdle with quite a few different things, but I don't think there's anything, and I think this is probably some of the um, I'll say where Pitchford is probably turning his nose up. You know, there's a lot of snide comments that comes from his camp and himself around. Yeah, we're gonna make the game. The guy's got to have a head the size of a planet, right? Because he's got his 2 primary game titles. Because we all know that. I mean, prequel was an add-on to as a filler for sure, but he's put up 2 massive game titles: Game of the Year 1 and 2. So start the conversation. Does this have the legs under it to continue to pull Game of the Year for the 3rd time in a row? I think it's almost expected. I think Pitchford fully expects that to happen as almost an afterthought. But is it really at that caliber?
You talk first, kid, if you want.
Man, I went into it with big expectations as far as pulling game of the year. I mean, what's going to be out there that's going to top it?
Mhm.
For me, there's going to be nothing coming out that I can think of. Like the only other game coming out is the Final Fantasy VII remake, and that's next year. So I think it's going to pull it. I think Call of Duty would probably be a topic brought up, but it's Call of Duty. They've been around too long. They've shined too much, and I hadn't heard much good about that anyway. So yeah, I think it's going to do it. Especially if they knock some expansions out, and with this Halloween event coming out, what kind of cool stuff they come out with that's unique to everybody out there. It helps draw people in. I mean, Layden, this is pretty much your first go around with Borderlands, right?
Yeah, my first true go around with
Right,
it.
going through the game. So I mean, you're still rocking away at it, enjoying it. So that's saying right there to me a whole lot that the game's got a lot of health, and I think it's got good potential for it.
Yeah. So some of the reviews I've watched and read about the game, they're all fair. I mean, everybody likes the game. That first and foremost, the gunplay, the game minus the story is flawless.
Mhm.
Like, there's zero things wrong with it. Now, some people have felt like the story isn't at the same caliber as the previous games.
Mhm.
Like, some of the characters are pretty annoying for the most part, and
Man, don't you be clapping on Claptrap. That's
Yeah,
not even fair.
Claptrap, my hero, man. I'm gonna tell you.
actually, no, it's Ava is the
Oh,
one everybody
yeah.
complains about.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, you think about it, like games coming out now that are incomplete and buggy as can be. This game had minimal bugs compared to that, so I think they did great.
Yeah, technical standpoints, yeah, I think it's for the most part, yeah, there is some issues as far as being a streamer and having to do this.
Mhm.
I have a problem with, but you know, I like the games. I mean, that should also be a testament that I like the game enough to put up with it,
Mhm.
to stream it and play it.
Mhm.
But I think it could be. I mean, I really don't give a shit about Game of the Year games, like whether I made it or not. If I enjoyed it, I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
But I feel like I see Game of the Year plastered on all games, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
all the time.
So
Like,
so with all the games that come out this year for you, Layden, what do you think would top Borderlands?
that's tough. I pulled up a list of games. I can't even remember all the games that came out this year, to be
Yeah, for
honest.
sure.
Apparently, Metro Exodus came out this year,
Mhm.
and that supposedly was pretty good. Division 2 came out, and that did really well.
I have heard a lot about
Dauntless,
Division 2. That could pull it.
Dauntless did really well, and I guess it's still doing well.
Mhm.
But then again, people like to shit on AAA titles too. So,
I agree.
as far as a AAA title, I think you know, Gearbox delivered.
Mhm. So, and that's some of the ways I look at this too, because I put that with the grain of salt as well, because I don't know how many game of the years that I run out and play. I know Kid mentioned Call of Duty. It's not the Treyarch version this year, so I think it has less of a running because everybody has the favorite Treyarch version.
Oh yeah, real quick, Gears 5 came out this year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Apparently, that's doing really well,
Mhm.
and Mortal Kombat 11. But I mean, that's a fighting game, so
Right.
yeah.
That'll be tough to pull because I mean they typically, when they go game of the year, it is typically story plus gameplay, right? I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. I don't see too many just straight up fighting games, even if they're really cool. If they don't have all the storyline behind it, I think that's some of the marks that come off because you've got the artistic view just the sheer mechanics and engine driving and whatnot.
Let's
But
say for first person category, if there's actually categories, sorry to cut you off,
Mhm.
Borderlands 3 will definitely win.
Mhm. Yeah, and this is just overall my feelings about this to continue that conversation about that. Um, the story is still really solid. It's hard to top. It's kind of like me going back and thinking about Pearl Jam as a band back in the 90s. These guys released the album 10, and they never came close to that ever in their career, right? They never had the success or the writing, and you look at these things, and this goes on with a lot of people that you've got this band that comes up through their whole youth, and they put all their passion for years and years and years into writing a piece of music, right? Or 10 to 11 pieces of music. They launch it, and it's their blood, sweat, and tears that goes into that. And can they ever top that? Can anybody ever top their true first piece of passion work that put years into it? And then all of a sudden, in the same light with Borderlands, he had a really big story that he told through 1 and 2, and there are years of development that went in. Not that it didn't take for fucking ever for this game to come out, but
Yeah.
he had years and years of thoughts and things like that to drive the vision of that. And now to recreate that, that's a really tough call for anyone. So that's where I give them a little bit of slack on the story. Not that it's wrong, not that it's bad or good. Without judging that, you're taking somebody's first passion and they put their blood, sweat, and tears and all their creative energy into that. and then now you got to do it again. I don't give a damn if it takes you 20 years to recreate that. It's really hard to attain that. And I kind of look at it from that perspective. So I give them a little slack on the story, but I will say the writing was really good. Like I can't tell you how many times I'm just laughing my ass off at some of the stupid things that are said
Oh
that
yeah.
are really smart and funny. And I think, Layden, you thought what the South Park writers must have got into this game somehow or something
Yeah,
at one point, right?
yeah. I forgot specifically why I said it, but yeah, I definitely did say it, and I definitely agree. The writing is it is good. Execution, not the best. Not all the voice actors and
Mhm,
I guess their vision of how the characters were supposed to be
mhm,
kind of fell flat for a lot of people, especially the heavy emphasis on making fun of the stream culture,
mhm,
streaming or influencers and all that shit. I thought
mhm,
it was hilarious. Some of the voice acting and some of the shit was a little bit annoying, a little over top, but
mhm,
if you keep it in the context of what Borderlands is, I mean, it fits in perfectly.
mhm.
So I think people like complaining about shit. I
Yeah,
thought everything was in line for what you expect in a Borderlands game.
yeah. And
Coming from somebody who played all of them, just not as much as a lot of other people did.
sure. And I look at that. Somebody asked me the other day, like, what do you think about Borderlands overall? And I said, well, it's Borderlands, and and there's more of everything, right? And I think I agree that they may have been trying a little bit too hard when they're trying to think from this philosophy, because that's kind of, from a creative, I look at this and I go, well, they looked at Borderlands 1 and 2 and they said, we got to do more. We got to do more of the quirky, more of the off center, more of the guns, more of Claptrap, which is impossible to reproduce, right? And I think that's where some of the annoyances come from. But they had a formula with Claptrap that, as aggravating as he is an icon for that game, right? And I think when you look at that and you go from that perspective to say, well, we got to get more and more and more, I see that's how this game was developed. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't even think it's terrible. But again, it's going back to, you got somebody that's pretty proud of what he's doing, and he's got to figure out how to top himself, and that's not going to happen, in my opinion. I don't think it ever would. But I think, just generally speaking, it's got a really good story. Not the best story, not the best Borderlands story, not even the best story in gaming, but it's pretty damn far up there. Then you've got the combination of, hey, we got a fucking complete game. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You think about this year, how many games have you played that are in beta or alpha or anything else? And
Just
you're
about
like, you're like, oh my God, I get a complete game. I know it's not even becoming AAA titles to me anymore in my definition. It's like, you got a game that's all the way finished, and that's a AAA title now, right? And then you're competing against all these partially made games. So I think they did a good job with that. They executed. I think they stayed true to their roots, and I think that's kind of the thing that caught some Game of the Year attention in the past. Is it's not uh, it isn't just 100% commercialized. It's not going to. It has its own mentality that it's going to be perfectly fine with being in the steampunk world. It's going to be perfectly fine with being quirky and off center, and it's standing its ground. So I think it gives the people that are on center the excitement of playing a AAA title. It's really good quality with a decent story, and then you got the people that are off center that they don't like to play in the mainstream. They like to play in off mainstream, and it satisfies that too. So that's where my thoughts have always kind of been about Borderlands. I think it'll pull it. I think it has the opportunity to. It would be strange if not, because it's a hybrid mainstream, non-mainstream game, and it's a really good quality one. So the conversation probably not over for a while yet. I think the biggest competitor you have coming from it isn't going to launch this year. So I think it's got a good timing. I think it's got the good publicity. It's got the good excitement around it, and it's obviously been waiting long enough that people are excited to play it. even if they like it a little bit less than they did Borderlands 1 or 2. So,
Yeah, and they got some of the funniest commercials, advertisements that pop up, man. It's freaking hilarious. So they got that for them too.
yeah, it's
I will
definitely
say,
quirky.
they're not apologizing for what they are.
No,
And unfortunately, I don't think Game of the Year, or definitely the video game industry as we know, is not safe from a political viewpoint. And the politics of it all is probably going to be the main thing if it doesn't win that keeps it from winning.
Yeah,
because of what it does, the jokes it has, and all that shit. I mean, it's unfortunate. But that's probably what's going to happen.
At the end of the day, was it worth it for everybody to go out and spend 60, 70, 80, $100 that you did spend for it? Do we think?
Nope, not worth it.
I dropped 100 and I was happy about it, and I still love the game. Keep it going, baby.
No, I'm kidding. I mean, I'm having fun, but the reason why I bought this game is to play with my fucking friends. I'm the only one that still plays it.
Well, you just play a lot more than we do.
Yeah.
I had to, I had a week of vacation, and then I had to recover from a whole week of vacation, which means I had to work that 40 hours I took off. I had to rework that the next week after that. So I'll don't worry, that game will be around for a long, long time with me.
Yeah, that's another thing that's great about Borderlands and Dragon. I'll tell you for sure, man. We've on and off this game since the first and second ones come out several times throughout the year, and that's the beautiful thing about it. Where other games, it's a one hit it quit it kind of thing. So we'll be there.
Yeah, you can start grounding out side missions, and you go off onto your whole a whole nother world of adventure that you may never complete a main mission, and you got 100 hours in on side missions. And if it follows true Borderlands mapping, you're going to see a lot more of that. You're going to see expansion packs, and I mean, I know the pack I got came with 4 DLCs, so they still have that same mentality that there will be a lot of playtime in there. So no worries, we'll hang out with you, buddy. We better play some. We better play some on our Extra Life stream on November 3rd and 4th.
I guarantee it. Well, I'll be playing at least.
That's what I'll be playing for sure.
We'll have to, since all 3 of us are going to be packed on one little table with 16 computers.
I know.
All right, my guys. Hey, I appreciate that. Not the last time we're going to hear from Layden for certain. I'm sure not the last time we hear from Borderlands. We will continue to update you. I hope you've enjoyed some of the thoughts that we've put out there on first play, prior to first play, a little bit more in depth. We'll continue to update this as Borderlands expands, our experience expands with it. And I'm sure Pitchford is bound to blow a gasket at some point, and we'll talk about that too. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Layden, thank you again for joining us this evening.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And till the next time, we will holla at you next time.
Later.
And that's all we got to talk about today, folks. This is Drag.
And this is Kid. If you enjoyed our cast, make sure and check out our website, follow our socials. We love feedback. You give it, we'll talk about it.
You can find us at kidindrag.chat on our website. For Twitter, it's dragkidin. For Instagram, it is Kid and Drag. Same for Facebook, Kid and Drag. We take feedback on all of those social platforms, and we'll see you next time.
Later.